What up, y'all? It's your boy M-phamis being called M3. Welcome back. Okay, I'm gonna review the Santa Claus's movies. The first one, second one, and the third one. This one's like starred by Tim Allen. This was made back in the 90s. And I thought it'd be a good idea to review this because I didn't have a chance to review it last year. Alright, like, share, and subscribe for me, and this is going to check me out on DNR. The links to everything is down below. Okay, in the first movie, we are introduced to Scott Calvin. Scott Calvin is a divorced single dad. He pretty much works at some mall, pretty much like, corporate America stuff. He was on his way to meet his ex-wife and her boyfriend Neil to get his son Charlie, because they kind of agreed that Charlie's gonna spend Christmas with his dad this year. And Charlie was like, no, I don't want. Do I have to really spend time with dad this year on Christmas? Scott tried to make Christmas dinner, but that kind of went bad really fast, and they pretty much had to go to some Denny somewhere. After that whole little thing, Scott was reading I think The Night Before Christmas, and Charlie started asking questions. Is Santa Claus real? How does he build all this stuff? Scott told him that sometimes you just gotta believe, and that's it. And after that whole little thing, Charlie went to sleep, and pretty much he heard a loud noise, and he woke up Scott. Scott told him stay in his room to check the whole thing out. He went outside. He saw Santa Claus on the roof. He fell, and pretty much he went kaput. And Scott was searching for his coat and everything else. And also Scott was also in his underwear while he was outside. Charlie saw the whole thing. He went outside with him, and Charlie saw the reindeer. Charlie went upstairs. He followed after him. Scott put on the Santa Claus coat and pretty much told him, get down there. And knowing that he accidentally got the reindeer to fly off, and Charlie told him, hey, we can do this Santa Claus stuff. And he'd been doing his Santa Claus thing, getting to people's house, giving presents. Things kind of went a little sideways. He kind of got chased by a dog, and it was pretty funny. Then the reindeer took him to the North Pole where all the elves were. Bernard is pretty much this head elf. He's the tallest elf there. I don't understand. They're supposed to be small. But pretty much he explained to him, the moment you put on that suit, he became the new Santa. Because there was this Santa Claus. There was this little deal. Anyone who took the suit, put it on, they pretty much become the new Santa. Scott was very reluctant of the whole thing. Charlie was very amazed about the North Pole. Again, Scott was having a hard time believing this whole thing was real. The next day, they pretty much wake up in their own bedroom in the house. His ex-wife and Neil kind of came by to get Charlie, and Charlie told him everything about the North Pole. Honestly, they thought he was nuts. Okay, trying to speed this up. Okay, pretty much the Charlie Santa Claus thing, it was kind of getting a little out of hand. Scott tried to talk to him, but told him hey, we need to keep this whole thing secret and everything else. Scott was actually morphing into Santa Claus. He was gaining a lot of weight. His facial hair was growing really fast, and his hair was turning gray. Then there was a custody battle between his ex-wife and Scott, and Scott kind of lost because of the whole thing. And pretty much it's almost Christmas. Scott finally came to terms with the fact that he's actually Santa Claus, and pretty much took Charlie to the North Pole. The ex and Neil kind of thought they kidnapped him. They called the police. They had every town looking for him and everything else. And Christmas was almost ruined, but they bust Santa Claus out of jail. The ex-wife and Neil now know that Scott is actually Santa Claus and the whole thing is real. And pretty much the ex was come see Charlie as soon as possible, anytime that you can. And that was the end of the first movie. Okay, after the events of the first movie, Santa Claus has been doing his thing, enjoying the whole Christmas thing. Then there was this elf named Curtis, who's kind of the rulebook guy. He kind of told him the whole rules, and Bernard told him to tell Santa about the Mrs. Claus. Pretty much they had a little chat with Santa after a little football game, and after that whole thing, they kind of explained to him about the Mrs. Claus. If he don't get married, he don't become Santa anymore. And the desantification process has begun. He's starting to get slimmer. His beard is getting shorter. So if he don't find a wife, no more. He don't become Santa Claus anymore. and pretty much he only has at least 28 days. There was like a meeting with all the legendary figures, Mother Nature, Father Time, Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy, Cupid, and pretty much they were having a conversation about Tooth Fairy's name change for some weird reason, and pretty much Scott told them everything that's happening, how we gotta like get married in a couple like 28 days. Charlie is ending up on a naughty list because he kind of like tagged like what was it, the school gym, and the principal kind of caught him, and he had to like get back down in there, and it's a very difficult situation. Curtis came up with an idea. What if he duplicates Santa, and pretty much Scott can go down there while the Santa Claus duplicate stay down here. The duplicate was like a toy-ish looking clone of him, so they did that part. Scott went down there, and when he got down there, also we were introduced to Lucy. Lucy is Neil and the ex-wife's kid. They went down to school, pretty much had to talk with the principal. The principal's name is Principal Newman. She's bro, I'm telling you, you do not want this with this principal. This principal do not play, man. Anywho, they had to talk about Charlie, how Scott is not like there, he's not like present and everything else. Okay, time to wrap it up. Pretty much Charlie ended up getting in trouble again. So he kind of also got Scott in trouble along with him too. He had to do like a little community service, and know that at the North Pole, everything was trying to come back to worse. The Santa that they duplicated, it ended up like trying to like take over North Pole, and pretty much like saying all the kids deserve coal because they've been completely bad and everything else. Curtis like went down there to like pretty much straighten everything out. Anyway, again, he was wowing Principal Newman. Like, those two were actually hitting it off and actually having a connection. And, Lucy was picking up on, like, Charlie and, Charlie and Scott's tension that whole time. And she said, you should apologize and everything else. Scott tried to, like, explain everything to her about, like, him being Santa. That didn't work. She got mad. She kicked him out. And, and pretty much, like, Charlie tried to tell her everything that happened. The Tooth Fairy kind of intervened. Took Charlie and Carol to the North Pole, and Scott too. Pretty much, they had like a little epic fight with the toys, like the giant toy soldiers. Pretty much, like, they defeated the fake Santa Claus. Carol and Scott kind of got married, and they did everything before, like, he had to actually go out and deliver presents. Last movie. Okay, pretty much Carol was telling the story about, like, how she's pregnant with Scott's baby, and pretty much, like, Jack Frost is the main bad guy. Curtis is the head elf. Pretty much, Lucy, Neil, his ex, and Charlie kind of went up to the pole to help Carol with the whole pregnancy thing. And Jack Frost came up with an evil plan. There's a thing called an escape clause. Basically, if Santa don't want to be Santa no more, he can just like go back in time and pretty much prevent him from being Santa Claus. But there was like a little problem. He needed to like get like a snow globe of Santa Claus's memory about like him being Santa that night, and pretty much trick Santa to like go back in time and like do everything. Jack Frost wins. He pretty much like turned the North Pole into some tourist trap. And Scott was pretty much a normal dude. He tricked him, and also the in-laws came, and they were like, you're a terrible dad and everything else. The legendary figures were there, and there was let's see. Again, there was time travel. Anyway, the timeline got fixed. Scott decided to tell them everything. The in-laws. Turns out Lucy kind of has like magical powers too. Her hearts are so warm to the point where it unfreezes people. Jack Frost pretty much turns into like a non-Jack Frost. I guess a summer version of the pregnancy was going on. Pretty much, they rushed to the living room, and that's the end of the movie. This movie, okay. The trilogy, the Santa Claus trilogy, is gotta be like one of the best like Hollywood movies ever made. And all that, Tim Allen, bro, you are the GOAT, man. In case you guys don't know this, Tim Allen is a dude who voices Buzz Lightyear in the Toy Story franchise. And I think I heard that he's like coming on for like the 5th movie. I heard the 5th movie is going to like revolve around Andy being grown up and everything else, and he got a kid. Okay, but I'm getting off subject, man. Okay. I remember watching this as a kid, and I remember, like, this used to be, like, one of my Well, all three of the movies had like a place in my heart. It really does, especially around Christmas time. I'm telling you, there's no way you can watch any of the three like Santa Claus movies and not be in the Christmas mood. I always wonder what happened to Bernard in the third movie, but we got like a little TV show on Disney Plus that's pretty much it's based on the movies though. And finally, we got a little explanation of why Bernard wasn't in the third movie, at least. But I'm definitely gonna review the series, hopefully if I have a little time though. Honestly though, I like the third one better though. It's more comedic and a little more funnier. And know that one of the best scenes in like the third one, I would say the one where they had to say the in-laws are coming. That was very good. And I like Jack Frost as a villain though. I mean, I gotta admit, he was really smart. Like tricking Curtis to thinking that he doesn't know nothing about Santa Claus. That was really good use of reverse psychology in my opinion. Okay, I'm telling you, some of the jokes that they made in the first movie, that would not get played out today. Especially like that scene where Santa Claus was where Scott was talking to some kids and all that stuff and they were sitting on his lap. Yeah, that joke would not be made today. Thank God it was made back in the 90s. Okay, second movie, okay, I'm just gonna say it. Mother Nature is fine. Fine, I say. Fine. Alright, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, man. I just had to say it. I'm sorry. But, again, it was a really funny scenario. Especially, I liked how they had the puppets there in his room. How they were saying, bum, 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 bum. Honestly, I kept laughing. I always rewind that part every time. Whenever that moment is there, I just want to rewind it and see that scene over and over again. And trust me, that scene always cracked me up, man. The puppets were really a funny addition to the whole thing. It was really good, though. Okay, time for me to rate the movies. On a 1 to 10 scale, I'll give the first one a solid 10. You cannot beat the first movie. Once it comes to a trilogy or a franchise, the first movie is always better than all the other ones, man. Let's be honest and let's be real. Okay, second one, a little cool. It could have been a little better, but it was decent. So I would give it at least a solid 7. Okay, the third one, I did want to give it a solid 9, but nah. It did. I'm just saying, rewatching it again, it definitely I don't know, just made me feel good, you know what? Time for a decision. Alright, for the final one, I am definitely giving it at least a solid 7.5 though. It's still one, just saying, the escape clause, the third one was my favorite one of all three of them, in my opinion, no. I know what I just said. The first one is always better, but I like the third one. I just like it. Overall, I love all three of the Santa Claus movies with Tim Allen in it. I really did love them all. They all hold a special place in my heart, especially around Christmas time. Alright, the boy gotta go. Like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, check me out on different art. The links to everything is down below.